Hi friends, it's been a little while, I think about 3 weeks since we've shown you anything in the garden. So we wanted to give a little walkthrough and show you how everything is doing. I know we've had a lot of questions. This first garden here is our kitchen garden. It is our first garden that we put in. Last year we got here, I think we closed on our property on June 26th, and by July 6th, I think, we had this garden cut out and begun.
This is what I've been dreaming of for the last 110 days of the travel and everything else we did.
Need gloves. Need one gloves.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. Are you trying to steal my gloves, little lady?
Yeah.
But this is my glove.
My glove.
Are you helping?
I'm happy.
Thank you. We felt like we were already here, we were on this property, and it was July. We might as well throw something in the ground. Also, being a gardener, I have a really hard time not having a garden. So we threw this garden in right away. It's right behind our shed to house conversion. It's a quick, easy place to run out and get some food, or for the girls to play in and snack. So we love this kitchen garden, and it's really special to us because it was our first garden. It's growing pretty well. One thing that I do miss about having an established garden in a place for several years is the weeds change. Now, right now, the weeds that we get popping up are things that are thorny and hard to pull and challenging. However, when we've had a garden for a long time, it seems that your weeds become things that just volunteer, and you work at really getting out those hard to remove weeds. For example, the things with thorns. If you catch them before they seed, then you can really eliminate them from your garden over a few years. Mint is not a weed that I mind having, honestly. It does take over, but you can pull the roots out fairly easily, and the kids love it. It also makes great tea, and it's a great thing to save or to snack on. Malia has actually dubbed this her mint garden, so that's special for her. These are also their tomatoes. So these are cherry tomatoes that we've planted specifically for the little girls who like to come out here and snack. Beyond that, we have some greens that we use for salad. In the summertime, we love to have chard for salads. We have a lot of herbs also in the garden. I like to make end caps with either flowers or herbs at the ends of the beds, just to kind of bring in pollinators and to give us spots to grab herbs. Up here we have one of our garlic beds. It did not do so well. We're learning. Haven't quite figured out why the garlic didn't grow very well, but that's okay. We have volunteer sunflowers all over this garden, which is actually really, really neat because I didn't plant a single sunflower up here, and we have so many. So that is such a special little treat there. This, however, is where sunflowers might become a problem, because these sunflowers here, they volunteered, and I have a really hard time killing a volunteer or a sunflower, so I didn't pull any of them. That being said, this area has kind of gotten a little bit overwhelmed by sunflowers, and therefore shaded some of the things that maybe shouldn't have had any shade. So for example, we have all these peppers here. I probably really should have pulled some of these sunflowers because these peppers here are being shaded. Now, while I am still harvesting, these are shishito peppers, and we are still harvesting quite a few shishito peppers. I feel as if they would do better with more sun. And, you know, it's just something you live and you learn. I know they need sun. I should have pulled some sunflowers, and I didn't. So that's fine. Behind these peppers, we have cucumbers. We love shishito peppers. Our shishitos, we started actually with padrones. We used to grow a lot of padrone peppers, and I don't know if you've ever grown padrone peppers, but they are kind of like Russian roulette. You get 9 that are really good, and then you get 1 that is really spicy. And so a couple years back, we started growing shishitos alongside our padrones, and it turns out our family just enjoys the shishitos a bit more. Only because there's more of a guarantee that they're not going to get the super spicy one. These are really prolific. They grow a ton of peppers. Granted, here in this shady spot, they won't get quite as many possibly as if they were in full sun, but we have several plants and I don't think it'll be a problem. As I go, I'm just redirecting some of these cucumbers that are growing the wrong direction. We want them to go up the fence. So this is part of the garden that's maybe a little less successful. It'll get there though, that's the thing, is it's not without hope. These 2 beds I planned to be just overflowing strawberry beds. The thing is that I bought a whole bunch of bare root strawberries in the fall and I planted them. I think that this year I might mulch them a little heavier. However, the ones that did make it are now spreading. And while in other situations I might not like the strawberries to send out so many shoots, there's several of these that are growing lots of shoots. I'm allowing it this year because I want the plants to multiply. That's kind of my main goal right now with this. So give it a couple years and I think that these strawberry plants, here's an example. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. This strawberry plant would produce a lot more strawberries if I didn't allow it to send out all these shoots. These shoots are it reproducing itself, but these shoots also are giving me new strawberry plants. And so once they get a little established, I can separate them from the strawberry plant. But for now, I'm letting my strawberry plants multiply as much as they want to, and maybe next year we'll work on more fruit production. I'm also trying to direct some of the shoots in directions that I want the new plant to be. So as it sends out this little shoot, it's starting to grow roots here. I'm gonna place it where I want it to be, and then eventually I'll be able to disconnect that runner. And I definitely don't want runners in the walkway. So. This is one of those weeds that I welcome in my garden. This one I actually planted this year, but this is one that will come back year after year and it will multiply. This is a calendula, and I don't know if you've ever grown calendulas. They're great for all sorts of things. Pollinators love them. You can make salves and you can make oils out of them. They're really good for your skin. I love calendulas. But possibly the best benefit of calendulas is they are bright orange and they're beautiful. So I love to have calendulas as weeds in my garden. They volunteer like crazy. They'll be everywhere eventually. So I will encourage that highly. As you can see, this garden is weedy, and that's okay. It is what it is. We're trying to get so many things established right now that the time that we have to keep everything pristine and beautiful is just not there. So eventually these will all be established enough that we could just come through and weed really easily, and we're not building new gardens in all of our free time. Look at this volunteer. This is a cucamelon. I did not plant this cucamelon here. Cheese. Peaks. This is a cucamelon, and I did not plant this cucamelon here, but I'm happy to see it. This is where we grew cucamelons last year, and my kids love cucamelons. We put them in salads. There's not a whole lot more you do with them, just pick them and eat them. Some people might disagree with that, but I love having cucamelons in the garden for the kids, and this is where we planted them last year. So it's really exciting to see something reseeded from last year. So we'll get a trellis on this, and this one little cucamelon plant will explode into a ton of cucamelons. Bambi thinks I'm here to feed her. Usually when we're working in the garden and we're pulling weeds, we're feeding Bambi treats and snacks. Back here, again, are a couple more of our less successful garden rows. Our lettuce in the back didn't do great. The weeds are coming up and going crazy. This is a row of garlic, which we've never grown garlic before. I think we showed you guys when we planted this back in the fall. And I need to pull it all and dry it. I mean, we have some decent garlic. Not nearly as much as we were hoping for. But we're learning, and we've never grown garlic before. So, you get to see our successes and our failures. Although I wouldn't call this a failure necessarily, because there's still garlic. So we'll come back and we'll collect all those and hope for better next year. I do want to say that the chamomile all came back and reseeded from last year, which is a huge win because we have been drying chamomile nonstop this year. I feel like the dehydrator is constantly going, and that's a win. This section between our kitchen garden and what's our production garden, we call it, is Mimi's garden. And Mimi's garden, the idea with this is it's sort of a cottage garden in between the kitchen garden and the production garden. This space is meant to be beautiful. This space is meant for flowers and herbs and a place to sit and rest. The kids play in here. This is their favorite place to be. They pick flowers and they have a ton of fun. It is a work in progress. We have a lot of things coming back. A lot of this is going to be perennials. You'll see right here in front I do have a section of dahlias, and I will have to dig those up. This is my first year growing dahlias, and I'm learning a lot, so that's good. I have lavender, I have echinacea that all came back. There's some volunteer sunflowers. So this place is a little wild, and it'll stay a little wild, to be honest. I'm moving big rocks in to border this space, but it will stay a pretty wild place with lots of flowers for the kids to pick, because what fun is a kid's garden if they can't pick some flowers? Come check it out. We have lots of violas. These are great. These are edible. We actually put these in our salads, but they're also fun for the girls. They make fairy houses, and they pick these just to throw in the air and feel magical. And I'm totally okay with that. We have roses, various roses throughout the garden. A lot of experiment. We're trying to etch out spaces in this cottage garden that kind of stay established. I've been collecting these rocks. This, if you remember, was our tulip patch. And so, as you know, tulips only last for a little bit in the spring. And what I've done is I've added zinnias. And so this will transition from the spring tulip patch to the summer zinnia patch. So that's pretty exciting. Behind I have lots of annuals. The girls love the petunias. They pick those constantly. I have some yarrow and roses, and just lots of fun flowers that I'm working on adding to. Hopefully mostly perennials.
Hey kids, what did you want that from?
So this is the newest part of our cottage garden. We have a pathway up to a little seating area. we're going to work on the fence a little bit, and we're working on the final design for that. I've got, it's hard to see through all the grass and weeds, but I've got 3 round beds that kind of go up this area with pollinators. Actually, I have pollinators and herbs down here. However, back there, Mabel has her own garden and Malia has her own garden. So again, just kind of a wild and free, fun space for the girls, right beside what is our production garden. And I'll let Ben show you that one.
All right, guys, so this is our production garden. Really excited here. We've been working hard on it. There's been a lot of weed pressure this year, but we're catching up. So in this first bed, we have beets, radishes, marigold flowers. We also have a really cool Egyptian walking onion patch, which has been growing in this holler for 3-4 generations.
Broccoli patch!
Oh, what's at the end?
Some broccoli. So Malia loves to pick the broccoli. So that's at the very end. She's running down there. And the next row up from that, that's basically our greens row. So we have chard, kale, 3 or 4 different kinds of kale, and then we interplanted it with onions. So those are doing really well. The onions are almost ready. And we have a couple of nasturtiums, and morning glories climbing up the front of this trellis. And then also a cucamelon, or 2, but I accidentally pulled one, so now there's only 1. But that's okay. We've also been struggling with our chicken fencing a little bit, and so now we have free-range chickens. And luckily they all go home at night, but we've been trying to keep them out of the garden a little too. I probably need a new charger on the fence, or set up the fence better, but that's cool. It's all good. So, I'm really excited about this tunnel. I think you guys saw us plan it, and as you can see, stuff like the scarlet runner beans are starting to come in and almost to the top. And then we had some melons in here that didn't do quite as well, but a lot of the beans are starting to get up here. Here's a purple bean. There's also a lot of pumpkins coming in, which I'm really excited for, because what I want is hopefully they'll grow all the way up here and then hang down. And I think that would be really magical for kids, and I'm a kid, so that'd be magical for me. So what we've been trying to do as they grow is just kind of weave them into the fence and kind of show them where to climb and then let them do the work. So like right here, take him and put him under so he can grab on there and keep going up. So I can't remember. You could probably look back at the video as to what we planted, but there's a lot of different pumpkins here, a lot of different winter squash, and then beans are all underneath. So this should all hopefully be covered. We'll probably learn a lot from this as to when to plant the things to make the tunnel work, and also what things worked on the tunnel and what things didn't. So as you keep walking down, we have more volunteer sunflowers that are taller than me, which is awesome. And then we just seeded some rutabagas. Hopefully this turns into a nice fall crop of rutabagas. We had great rutabagas last year, and it was actually one of our favorite things that we had. It was like one of the first root crops we planted on the homestead, and we had them all winter long. It was great. They're pretty resilient, so you can just leave them and keep picking them as you want. You don't have to harvest them all at once. If you look at the next row up, it's the potato row. They're starting to kind of fall over this way. I probably could have built up a little more soil as the potatoes grew, but sometimes you run out of time and you can't do it all. So these will probably be ready to harvest as soon as they start to die back. And then I'm not sure what's going to go there next. In this next row, we planted onion sets, and I've been very happy. They're bulbing up pretty good. Some of them are a little bit smaller, but this is the first time I feel like I've actually almost had what I would call a successful onion crop. It's a little bit weedy, but you can see on these white onions in here that they're really bulbing up nice. And so that's really exciting to me. This next row up is our cabbage patch, and we've done really well. These guys are ready to get out of the ground, so we're gonna have to start thinking about if we're gonna do kraut, if we're gonna roast it. I wanna make some kimchi, so that'll probably be happening soon. These are about ready. Okay, so on this top row, really exciting thing that we did this year, again, like Brianne was saying, like a lot of these things are a couple years out. So as most people know with asparagus, you can't harvest for the first couple years. So we got some 2-year-old crowns from our local extension, and we threw them all in the ground, and we've been building up the bed with soil as they go, hoping to, you know, next year I don't think we'll be able to harvest, but maybe the spring after that we will. So the plan is we'll fill this in with more asparagus, and I think this entire row down to the end will just be our asparagus patch, which is really exciting. So this is about a 54-foot bed. We've got about half of it, 2/3 of it planted with asparagus now. And then we had more of those potatoes still, so I've just been throwing potatoes anywhere that there's a blank spot. So the last thing on the edge of this production garden is we've got a production berry patch, hopefully. So last year we got 6 blueberry plants in, a couple different varietals. I think one's a Herbert and one's a Chandler. And then this year we also had 3 of our North Countries that were backordered showed up. And as these grow up, it'll be like a very natural end to the entire garden. These blueberries will, they mimic the same shape of our compost bin, so it makes a natural sort of wall around the compost.
So this is an experiment that was born of last year's situation. Last year we put in a dozen tomato plants in our kitchen garden, and they grew beautifully, and they were big and beautiful tomatoes. Then I think we got I think it was blight, but something that I've never really dealt with very aggressively. I've never had to. It doesn't rain very much in California in the summertime, so I didn't think it was a big deal until all of the plants rotted and the tomatoes rotted and everything just was completely wiped out. So I decided that if my tomatoes in the garden was gonna rot, I'm gonna try to prevent it, of course, but if those were gonna rot, at least I'd have these. So we built this kind of high tunnel situation just with a cattle panel and some plastic with a wooden base, and our tomatoes are in here protected. These are an early girl variety. Hopefully we'll produce a lot of tomatoes, and we're guaranteed to have some tomatoes because last year we didn't get any. I also interplanted more marigolds and lots of basil, some zinnias at the end, and then in the back I put some pumpkins because why not? This is also a place where I am starting more seeds that will be going out into the garden.